Hello, I'm Elizabeth Hare, and I'm going to read you 4 poems from my pamphlet testimony published in January 2019 by Wayleave Press. There is much public discussion at present about how best to return our children and young people to school as the lockdown is eased. So because I started my career as a teacher, I will read 2 poems about teaching as a reminder of both the joys and the hard work being a teacher involves. The first one is called Teaching Andrew to Read. Teaching Andrew to read. Skinny kid, back of the class, trousers too big, jumper too small, holey socks, scuffed shoes. Whenever he could, he sat drawing huge, colourful insects, his world, filled in with wax crayon. Every day he stood at my desk to read, leaning into me, his grubby finger moving slowly along the lines, glancing at the pictures opposite, desperate for clues, not understanding how it all fitted together. We struggled through the rainbow readers till we came to Green Book 1, The Princess and the Giant. We turned the page. The giant was sitting by the fire drinking tea, the princess mending his enormous socks. Andrew turned and smiled at me, as though he had, in her gargantuan hopeless task, seen something of his own. He pointed to the words and asked, "Miss, does it say that, like the picture?" Andrew read. He knew that, like his insects drawings, this was a world where he could hide from teasing classmates, where he could sit, drink tea with a giant, and the princess might show him how to darn his socks. Later on, I went on to teach in secondary education, and this poem is intended as a challenge to those who underestimate what young people and children are capable of. You can't do Shakespeare with these kids. You can't do Shakespeare with these kids. They can barely write their names, have never read a book. It wasn't difficult to find the shipwrecked boys, lost on the desert island of their lives, wondering about, trying to remember who and where they were. Drunken Stefano and Trinculo acting out what they saw men do each Friday night. For all he knew, Ferdinand had lost his father, and Miranda understood the meaning of the phrase dysfunctional family all too well. No wise old counsellor or stalwart mariner to guide them. Ariel went home each night to a mother drugged with pills and alone brought up 3 younger siblings, doing her homework after midnight, and returned to listen to Prospero's demands, asking why he did not pity those he had so brutally imprisoned. A torment to lay upon the damned, I would, sir, were I human. And Prospero himself, captain of the football team, who tried so hard to grow a beard, 6 feet tall at 17. His Hungarian grandmother wept all through the play. He told me afterwards she hadn't understood a word. He had presence, held the hall in pin-drop silence with his own rough magic, reminded us our little lives are rounded with a sleep. After the play, I came upon poor Acnid Caliban, alone where once had been the theatre, now returned to school assembly hall, the gorgeous costumes gone, the set dismantled. I watched as silently he cried to dream again. For the last 4 years, I've spent much of my time doing voluntary work with refugees. And because this is Refugee Week, I've chosen 2 poems to read, prompted by my work with them. The first is called How to Be with Refugees. When you start working, it's quite difficult to know how to be around them because it's sometimes very intense work. How to be with refugees. Don't fall in love. Don't let humanity seduce you with its neediness. A child with pleading eyes creep into your soul. Don't let the weeping mother tug at your heart. She'll be taken away and you'll be left not able to put it right. And it's not your fault. It's not like that. The hardest thing for them is waiting. Learn from their patience. And I want to finish with another refugee poem. And this is about having lunch out with a friend and being asked, as I so often am, about my work with refugees. The idea of the poem is to reflect on the many differences and contrasts between their lives and ours. Lunchtime Stories. We came here for lunch, sat in the bay window, the white tablecloth, the leftovers on our plates, watching the rain fall steadily on the garden, summer green. After the food, you asked me about working with refugees. You must have heard some stories. Fragments, hints, glimpses. One who asked me how to post a letter, I took him to buy an envelope and some stamps. He said he'd hidden in a freezer lorry, running on the spot all night, just to stay alive. Another asked why the doctor had given him a paper and not pills. As I took him to the chemist, he told me he'd walked across the Sahara. A woman asked me, would I help her buy a railway ticket? She'd never travelled on a train. She said, the men were distracted by another woman, so I ran, I had to. We sat with the half-told stories, the white tablecloth, the leftovers on our plates, watching the rain fall steadily on the garden, summer green. Thank you for listening.